guys, welcome back to Study Astrology with me. I hope you all had a nice week. We are now at the 4th episode of this series, and I almost was not going to be able to make this episode this week. And I was actually freaking out because I accidentally said in my last video that I would see you all next week instead of saying my usual see you next time. So that placed a huge commitment on me, one that was a bit hard for me to handle, and so I was freaking out. But I'm actually really glad that I'm able to make it because now I won't feel guilty about missing an episode that I promised you guys. Anyways, this week we are covering the zodiac sign Gemini. We will be following the same format as the last two episodes, and so we will be taking a deep dive into the basic information, the history, the mythology, the science, and the qualities of Gemini. So let's begin with an introduction to Gemini. Again, I mentioned that this is basic information that a lot of us already know, but I feel like it's only right to give it because there may be newbies to astrology who are watching these videos. So the dates for the sun sign according to tropical zodiac are approximately May 21 to June 21. The symbol associated with this zodiac sign is the twins. It originates from the Gemini constellation, and the element of this zodiac sign is air, and the color associated with it is yellow, which is why I'm wearing yellow today. And actually I feel really flighty as well while recording this video, so maybe it's just some of that Gemini energy at play, because I do have Gemini placements. It is a mutable zodiac. The sign ruler is Mercury. It is a positive, masculine yang sign, and the third zodiac sign. It also spans 60 degrees to 90 degrees of the zodiac band. Now that we're done with that basic information, let's move on to something more interesting, which is the history and the mythology of Gemini. And it was really interesting for me to be doing research on this because I found out a lot of mythology about twins, even though most of it was identical twins. I found that interesting because I myself am a twin, a fraternal twin though, because I have a twin brother. So it isn't exactly the same as being an identical twin, but I still found it fascinating regardless. So let's begin with Babylonian history and mythology. So Babylonian astronomy believed that the constellation represented the great twins, and their names were Lugal-Ira and Mistamtaya, which mean the mighty king, and the one who has arisen from the underworld. And these are also the titles of the Babylonian king of the underworld, who was Nergal, who was also the god of plague and pestilence. And this may be why the great twins were actually linked to the underworld. They are regarded as like the guardians of doorways, but they have been believed to be guardians of the gates of the underworld. And a morbid detail is that they supposedly chopped up the dead that passed through the gates. In depictions of the great twins, we see Lugal-Ira on the left and Mesopotania is on the right, and they are shown as identical twins who wear horn caps, and they both brandish an axe and a mace. So that's it for the Babylonian mythology. Let's move on to the more known mythology, which is the Greek mythology of the Gemini zodiac. So Greek mythology links Gemini to the twins known as the Dioscuri, who were basically twin half-brothers, known as Castor and Pollux or Polydeuces. They shared one mother, Leda, but Castor was a mortal and the son of King Tyndareus of Sparta, and Pollux was immortal and divine and the son of Zeus, who apparently either raped or seduced Leda disguised as a swan. These sources on who is immortal and who is mortal do vary, of course, but in the case of one immortal, it is always Pollux who is the immortal. Then we basically see that they were both conceived together. It was simultaneous conception, that is known as heteropaternal superfecundation, which basically means that one mother is able to father the children of two different, like, one mother is able to mother the children of two different fathers. My bad. And the popular belief is that they were born from an egg with their twin sisters. So there were like 4 children in total, and these 2 were half brothers. So some sources mention that they were excellent horsemen. Castor was famous as a horse tamer, and Pollux was famous as a boxer. They were both really close to each other and almost identical both in looks and actions. And so, because of their bond, they both went on a lot of adventures together. Castor and Pollux both wanted to marry 2 sisters, but they were also betrothed to their cousins who were also twins. So basically, there's a lot of twins in this story. It is a bit confusing. It was confusing for me while I was reading it. But basically, Castor and Pollux wanted something that some girls that were already like betrothed. And obviously that resulted in a feud and also sort of resulted in the Trojan War. But obviously that's not our topic for today. So the cousins, they were named Idas and Lyncus, and they basically killed Castor, and Pollux and Zeus then killed Idas and Lyncus. So there was a lot of bloodshed over these 2 sisters. And because of the death of his half-brother Castor, Pollux was in grief, of course, and he begged Zeus for help. And Zeus gave him this choice to basically share half of his immortality with his brother Castor to bring him back to life. Or he could choose to live on Mount Olympus forever. Pollux really loved his brother, so obviously he chose to share his immortality, and that led the twins to live together, alternating between Olympus and the underworld. And due to this, the twins then became the 2 brightest stars in the constellation Gemini. The Dioscuri also became patrons to sailors and athletes, and sailors especially believed that if you saw both of the stars while navigating the seas, then it was good luck, but if you only saw one star, that means that it was bad luck. So that's how their story is carried forward as patrons. Moreover, Indo-European mythology links Gemini to the divine twins, and these are like a series of twins as far as I've researched, and most of them are all related to horses. Rome links it to the mythical founders of Rome, who were Romulus and Remus. Egyptian astrology identified Gemini with twin goats and the older and younger Horus. And then we have Arabian astrology, which links it to twin peacocks. So there's quite a lot of diversity, but the bottom line is Gemini has always been linked to the concept of twins. So that's all that I have here with me with regards to the mythology and history of Gemini. It wasn't that varied compared to the other zodiacs before this, so it was easy to do research on this. So now let's move on to the science of the constellation of Gemini. First of all, it's easy to spot. It is northeast of the Orion constellation. Obviously, it is between the Taurus and the Cancer constellation. It is best seen in February and contains 2 brightest stars, Castor and Pollux, as mentioned before. And these 2 bright stars represent the heads of the twins. The rest of the faint stars make up the bodies of the twins, and Pollux is actually a red giant with at least 1 massive planet around it. Castor, on the other hand, has 2 companion stars. Apart from this, the constellation contains the Eskimo Nebula, the Medusa Nebula, and Jaminga, which is a neutron star. Moreover, it is also a radiant point for a meteor shower called Geminids, which takes place in mid-December annually. So it basically has a lot going on as well. It has a lot of nebulas, it has a neutron star, it has a meteor shower. So I feel like this is a really interesting constellation, and we should all try to look for it when February comes by. So now that we're done with the scientific facts, let's move on to the qualities of Gemini, and this is what most of you have been waiting for. I'll quickly list down the pros. The pros of Gemini are that they are adaptable, they are curious, they are charming, they are witty, animated, expressive, imaginative, youthful, flexible, and rational. And on the flip side, their cons are that they are conflictive, they are deceptive, they are inconsistent, impulsive, shallow, scattered, sarcastic, cunning, impatient, and non-committal. So we can basically break this down as it again being two sides to one coin. How developed you are as a person will bring out more pros if you're a Gemini, and if you're an underdeveloped person, then these qualities will manifest themselves as cons. The social aspect of Gemini comes from Mercury, who is the god of communication. The playful and the trickery side also comes from Mercury too, because Mercury is basically the Roman equivalent of Hermes, who was fond of trickery. Moreover, we have the fact that Gemini are creative and logic is also linked to them being an air sign. Their flighty behavior also links back to this. The fact that they are adaptable and inconsistent comes from the fact that they are a mutable sign, and these signs are known for adjusting to scenarios and adapting quite well, but also obviously the inconsistency factor comes forth. Now let's look at the placements in which it is weak or strong. Obviously it will be strongest in its ruling planet, which is Mercury. It is detriment or weak in Jupiter. It is exalted or second best in North Node placement. And the weakest or the fall is in South Node, because that is opposite to the North Node. It is again a masculine sign, so we can see a lot of that energy, that activeness that is present in these qualities. Moreover, it is associated with the tarot card, the Lovers, and I think that is again a very apt card for the zodiac sign, because Gemini shows a split. It shows two sides to one thing. It shows two point of views. So it is likened to the Lovers card, which represents a choice basically. It represents double aspects and represents choices. So that is why I think that is a really valid card to be associated with Gemini. And I think that is all for today. We covered Gemini, and I wonder if I covered this relatively fast, but I don't know. It might have felt that way because as I was covering Gemini, I was a bit excited. But anyways, thank you for watching my videos. And next up, we will have Cancer. So see you next time. Take care.